If it doesn't work again, no worries. Because what I did, I put on my microphone thing that I use on my other computer.
Okay.
So
I think
let's
this is
see.
much better.
I think it is. I will see. I'm gonna see how this sounds because I'm surprised this didn't ding with it.
But you sound better to me already.
Okay. We'll see if anybody else comes on. In the meantime, no, that's sounds the same way it did before.
There, yeah, that yeah.
Like that. You hear that?
Yeah, it almost sounds like a fan, like Earl said.
It's weird. That's the internal one. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, let's just
Leave you
continue. They grew older and left each other. Okay,
at
let's try
each
this again.
other.
Okay, you know what? Well, we're not one to stop, and we're not going to let anything technical. I used to be one where any kind of technical problem, I just get all off. But now it's like, no, I'm just going to stick with it, and the technical stuff is not going to beat me, so I don't let it beat me anymore. So give me just a minute and introduce yourself, Makiba. Tell whoever may be listening a little bit about you. And what I will do in the meantime is send this to your page and we can do the show and just have it play over if no one knows to get back on.
Perfect. My name is Miriam Makiba, and I am the youngest of 10. I have a background in, actually, I have a bachelor's of science in public health. I've worked at various agencies. I have a master's degree in health administration. I currently am a case manager for the state, and that's it.
Well, you know what? That is quite a bit. And what I'm actually doing, you know what I am. I'm actually trying to send it to yours so you can actually share it with your people because some people may have already gotten off. So that's no problem. We can just go on with the show. But, oh,
Absolutely.
hey, okay, let me know since I am on. Let me know if it is still echoing a little bit. Give me some feedback on the sound if you
No,
can
I think
hear
you're
me.
fine.
Okay, so I guess you can too. So I'm going to go back with starting back with what I was starting out with, and we have 625. It's not bad. It says much has been said on the subject of a single black woman, our marriageability rates, and the abysmal dating pool available to us. You might even say too much has been said all about this, as if there weren't enough. It seems like mainstream media can't get enough of this subject either. In the early 2000s, there was a flood of exposés on all the major US news outlets. And what did they talk about? They talked about single black women. But more than that, they talked about why aren't they getting married? What's the problem? Why aren't they getting married? Why can't a successful woman find a man? Successful black woman find a man? Much of the reporting devolved into paternalistic advice, false assertions about black pathology, and overworn stereotypes about the strong black independent woman. Black women were prodded, poked, sliced, and examined like specimens as our interior lives were dissected under the microscope of America's paternalism. Then you have gurus like Kevin Samuels. Now, everyone knows Kevin Samuels. We've talked about him so many times. And, everything he said, I didn't necessarily disagree with. Some of the things he said, he was kind of right on the money. And some of the things he said, he was way off. But, those were his opinions, and we have to be respectful of everyone's opinion. But Kevin Samuel says that women who are over 35 and unmarried are nothing but leftovers. Today, I was listening again to Miss Wanda's He Said, She Said, and this show inspired me to continue this discussion. It mentioned some of the things that men look for: beauty, body, meaning they want to find the most fit woman they can, according to Miss Wanda's guest, and cooperative. And that's where we left off when people told me that I was, blowing the place up with the audio. So, Makiba, I want you to go on the cooperative and tell us what you had mentioned about that before we signed off.
I was just saying that you had a guest speaker on before. We call him Dr. Khalid
Mm-hmm.
Scott,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
amazing person. He said that that's all that men really want is the P word. And I was taken
No, that's
aback
not
when
when
he
he said the P word. When he said the P word, I'm like, woo.
But then I think that women want the P word too, and it's just peace. You want to come home and you want to have peace. I think that that's pretty simple, and it pretty much explains everything. Everybody wants peace. You know, Physical fitness comes and goes because you may be physically fit, and then you may get older, and then you may not be physically fit anymore. However, oh my goodness,
I, I
this is
saw,
it.
I saw that. I'm like, oh my gosh.
But you want somebody that cooperates with you. Another word would be peace. You want peace at home. You don't want um to have all that arguing and fighting and fussing, and I think everybody wants peace.
I think women and men want it, but it seems to me that there's a negative, there's a negative perception out there that says that Black women may not be as peaceful, or we're loud, or we're argumentative, or we're disruptive, or I mean, I know those are stereotypes, but they're pretty prominent and a lot of people believe them. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I hate to keep. I wish you had Mr. Scott on the phone too, because he is amazing, and he tends to say a lot of the same things that I feel. I don't think that that's necessarily it, but I do believe that Black women, white women, green women, orange women, sometimes they come with a lot of baggage or trauma, and that trauma could make them fuss, fight, and argue, or maybe that's what they saw in their childhood, so they think that that's normal. You know what I mean? um
Yeah.
I don't think that that's necessarily the case at all.
Okay. And that's a good point, because we only do what we know or what we've seen. So if that's what they've seen and
Or what
that's
we
the
see.
environment that they came from, that's probably how they act. He also talked about one that always this one always gets on women's nerves. Um, he talked about the weight thing, saying that women need to be fit, or how could I say this? How do you say? I don't want to say the wrong thing that he didn't say. Basically, he was saying, because he started off saying, which I want to ask you about this too. He started off by saying, it was interesting though, but he started off by saying that most women want a man that makes $100,000 a year and that are 6 feet tall, and there's only 134,000 of those types of Black men. So there's 8.8 million or whatever Black women. So how are they going to get these few, the small pot of Black men? He said it's unrealistic. Asking you, when you're single, when you're young, when you're middle age, when you're whatever age and single, do you quantify that and say he has to make $100,000 a year and he has to be 6 feet tall? I never necessarily wanted a tall guy.
No, those are not my criteria.
Mine either. That's why.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. No, in fact, when you said that, I'm like 6 foot tall and $100,000. Those are nice things, but when you're in a relationship, you want to see what they're bringing to the table as well as what you're bringing to the table. So you're saying, in turn, that that woman makes $100,000 a year and that she's fit, right? I mean, isn't that
That's
fair?
that's the trade-off. He was basically saying, yeah, for this man that has those attributes, he's looking for a woman like this. But when I was much younger and dating, there's a lot of guys who I dated even then, way over $100,000 a year. I didn't necessarily find those the most generous men. I was
No.
always looking for a man who would not only share my life but share his wallet, because I'm generous too. So I wanted someone who would be very generous. And some of the men that I found making a lot of money, I don't know if they've been exploited before or something happened in the past, or if they were just really tight, but they weren't one to share their. And if they would share it, they'd flaunt it. I remember dating this guy, and I don't know, he was a post office, over the post office or something. What do you call it? I don't know, whatever he was. And he bought
Postal
me this.
worker.
No, but he was over that post office in that city. So he bought me this dress to go to this big function. It was a real nice function. And the dress was gorgeous. And at that time, I was fit. And everybody was saying, oh, it's such a nice dress, such a nice dress. This Negro said, oh, I bought the dress.
Mm-mm.
I was done.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there. I think you're right. There comes, like, when you're with somebody that has money, you're right. They're not always as generous. At least that's been my experience. I've
Mine
dated men
too.
that make 100,000 plus,
Mm.
and unfortunately, they make $100,000. That doesn't mean we make
Right.
$100,000.
And I'm not benefiting like that. And I mean,
There's no benefit.
I don't expect to get all his money, but I expect him to be, if we're in a relationship, for him to be generous. And that's what I looked for. I didn't quantify it by how much he made. I quantified it by how he treated me and how, anyway.
I agree.
And as far as the height thing, we have somebody on here now saying that she did. Do you see what her comment? I always wanted a tall guy.
I always wanted a tall guy. However, that's not what I fell in love with.
Yeah.
He's taller than you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But she was one of those 6'5", 6'6", 6'3". She did, all of her friends were tall. Except the one she's getting ready to marry, but we're not going to put her business out like that.
Right.
So
I wonder if that's the whole cliche of tall, dark, and handsome.
Well, that's probably, ideally, I think that's what women, stereotypically, what they were looking for, tall. But I looked at tall as being taller than me. That could be
too. I was just going to say,
touche. Right, taller than me. Dark, yes. Handsome. It's nice if he's, look pretty nice, but he don't have to be, so it's again how he treats me and how he makes me feel. Absolutely. So moving ahead, why does it seem that we are in a perpetual state of singleness? Everyone knows the data shows that there are more Black single women, and I'm talking about some of these women are like superstars or people who you would consider a superstar. They're in the A, B, and C suites, making $250,000 a year, and they can't find a husband, or and then conversely, there are a lot of women that are like everyday women, and they feel that they should be getting someone who is the 6 feet tall guy making $100,000. So what they're saying is, are our goals in line? Are they realistic?
No, I was just going to say, those aren't realistic goals to me. I mean, I guess when I look at being in a relationship, I look at what I can give as well as what I can receive. And if I'm not bringing $100,000 to the table, then why would I expect that? And it just, I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense I think the expectations are high. One of the things that you had said before is, are our expectations too high? No, I don't think they're high enough. I feel like men need to be accountable, and so do women. I don't think you have to make $100,000, but I think you need to treat me like a queen, because that's who I am.
And I agree with that. But tell me then, why disproportionately are Black women tend to be single longer and tend to be single more so than any other ethnic group?
I guess I have my own, I guess I have my own hangups on this, and maybe it's wrong, but I think if they're dating Black men, or if they're dating, the men that they're dating are not willing to commit. I really think it's a commit thing. Because
we're not gonna get into that. Oh my!
I'm just going to be honest with you. I feel like more of us would be married if the men that we were dating would commit.
Do you think men are afraid to commit, or if they're healthy, they don't have any incentive to commit? Think about it. A healthy 45, 50, 60-year-old man, healthy. If he's healthy, he can date anybody he wants. Absolutely. He can do whatever he wants. So is there, or should there be an incentive? I don't know. Do they ever get tired of doing what they're doing? I don't know. But here's another perspective. That's a good perspective. Matter of fact, me and Khalid mentioned that. If you remember, if you were listening last week, there was someone who said something about the lack of Black men don't want to really commit in a relationship, or something to that point. And he responded to him. So, and he went on to say, why should they want to commit when some of the laws in Illinois says that if you've been married 20 years, you're going to have to pay alimony and blah, 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 blah. You remember that conversation?
Yeah.
He's perhaps one of those, but we won't talk about him because he's not on the line. When I read Diane M. Stewart's Black Women, Black Love, America's War on African American Marriage, her descriptions of the systemic forces working against us, Stewart lays out the issue when she says most heterosexual Black women in America today, whether parenting offspring or not, are single by circumstance, not by choice. She continued, the trouble is not with Black women failing to value marriage. It's a shrinking demographic of those whom Black women want to marry. In some cases, Black women lack dating prospects within their socioeconomic group, and in other cases, they don't have any dating prospects at all. Black women's lack of opportunities for love and marriage with Black men is the nation's most hidden and thus neglected civil rights issue to date. Stewart provides the historical receipts that reveal Black love as a contested site in this nation. And I'd agree with that. If you look at all the commercials, they're always mixed couples.
Yep.
And details the way that the war on African-American marriage was waged in the past and is waged in the present. Now we're going to look at some reasons why. This is a big one, and people say you guys always lean on this. Mass incarceration.
Yeah. This sounds really crazy, but I just started watching this Bride of an Inmate or something like that on Lifetime. It's the most ridiculous
Bride of an Inmate.
Yes,
Okay.
Bride of an Inmate, I think is what it's called. And it is the most ridiculous show. These women that are successful, they're doing well, etc. They start pen paling these men that are incarcerated, and they could have been in jail 15 years, 10 years, whatever, for whatever they're doing. And then they end up marrying them. Most of them are from Australia or England or wherever. They come over to Ohio and get
And
a
do
man.
they marry, do they marry all men? I mean, are these white women marrying Black men?
A lot of them are interracial marriages, absolutely. A lot of them are interracial.
Okay.
On the show, I'd say there's 6 couples and 4 of them are interracial.
Oh, dear.
So yeah, they are, and it's the weirdest show I've ever seen. And it comes on right after Married at First Sight. I can't remember
So,
what it's.
is this a real show or is this something that's
It's a reality show, but it's real. Yes,
okay? Okay.
it's a reality show.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Let me ask you this: do you know any men that are incarcerated or that have been incarcerated?
So I haven't dated every man in America.
No,
correct?
not date, not date, not date. Do you know anyone? I mean, I know when we were kids living in Michigan City because the state prison was there, we knew people.
Yeah.
But do you know anyone that is incarcerated or have been incarcerated?
Yeah, I know several and several Black men that are incarcerated or have been. Yeah,
You do? Okay.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just asking. It says there are approximately 100 unimprisoned Black men to 91 unimprisoned. I'm sorry. There's approximately 100 unimprisoned Black women to 91 unimprisoned Black men. 100 to 91, according to Stewart. Now you got 100 to 91. Now you have to think about all these other variables. Just because they're not in prison may not be that they're into women or may not into Black women or whatever. In 2015, Tanisha Coates shared a litany of harrowing stats in The Atlantic. In 2000, 1 in 10 Black males between the ages of 20 and 40 was incarcerated, 10 times the rate of their white peers. In 2010, a third of all Black male high school dropouts between the ages of 20 and 39 were imprisoned, compared with only 13% of their white peers, Coates added. 1 in 4 Black men born since the late 1970s, 1 in 4, 25%, Black men born since the late 1970s has spent time in prison. That data is staggering. 25% of the men born after that to me was like, wow.
I know more than that have been in jail or prison. So yeah.
You do?
More than one. Like probably out of the 10 guys that I'm thinking about now.
10? Makiba.
No, I'm serious. Out of the 10 people that I'm thinking of in my head right now, at least 6 of them have been in prison.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Romaine even said, yes, I know one.
She knows one too? Okay. Okay. Well, this data, it just seemed kind of overinflated to me, but it's probably right on the money. Another issue, people are going to argue with me about this, and it's okay. That's what we're here for, the dialogue. Additionally, colorism is an
Oh, yeah.
intra-racial dynamic that has played a role in being single. You think so, Makiba?
Oh, yeah.
Colorism?
Yeah.
Research has found that dark-skinned Black women are less likely to be married than our light-skinned counterparts. Dark-skinned Black women are also disproportionately impacted by the depletion of the Black male marriage pool. This point is underscored by Derek Hamilton, Arthur Goldsmith, and William Darity in Shedding Light on Marriage, the Influence of Skin Shade on Marriage for Black Females. Okay, here's the data. I love the data. They found that 55% of light-skinned Black women had been married, compared with only 23% of their dark-skinned counterparts. That's
I can
cool.
believe it. Colorism, unfortunately. I mean, like, people call me chocolate drop all the time. And I just think that that's so funny because I'm like, I'm not even really all that dark. I am. I have a beautiful melanin skin, but like, I've seen darker, and I think dark is beautiful. But unfortunately, it's almost like a stereotype within the culture.
So you think it's a stereotype where, well, yeah, I mean, the data's saying 55 and 23, 55% versus 23%. I mean, you don't have to have a camera to know that when it comes to beauty, it has nothing to do with colorism. So
Absolutely.
you know where what it might be. Okay, now I'm really digging now. What it might be is sometimes when people look for mates, they're looking at procreation and they want light kids or lighter kids, and they don't want. Okay, this is a stretch. Data doesn't say anything. This is me trying to figure out what the problem is, and they want their kids to look a certain way. I've even heard of men and women that want to have mixed looking kids, so they marry outside of their race.
Yep.
Now that's colorism too, but this is a stretch. Okay,
Yep.
but I don't know. Interesting.
I agree. I mean, I agree with what you said on that. I feel like a lot of times it is for procreation, and when it does happen, it's like, well, a light person with the dark person makes a caramel person,
Right, right,
or a dark man with a white woman makes a caramel baby.
right. So that's kind of what they're going for, and so
Mhm.
that's why the prevalence of marriage is higher when it comes to lighter women versus darker women. Maybe I can't figure out what the reason is. I don't know.
Now,
We
listen, I went to IU, and I have one, two, three, four, five of my very best friends are chocolate, and they have
mhm.
all been married. So
No,
if
I'm
you're
not
looking
saying
at
they
that,
don't get married. No, I'm
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah, 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 yeah. And they have been married and still are. Some of them are still married. So I feel like it. You know, I've been married before, and now I'm single. But I don't know. I do feel like colorism has a lot to do with it.
Jeez. Okay,
I do.
colorism within our race. So that's intra. Oh, that's horrible.
Hmm. But it's
I
true.
mean, back in the day, way back, way before you, how would they say it? Yellow is mellow, brown is stick around. If you're black, get back, or something like that.
Mhm.
I mean, it was
I've heard that
crazy stuff
before.
that you would. It
Yeah.
was crazy stuff that you would hear, but you would think in 2024, where the rainbow is beautiful, that you don't care what shade they are, because even when, and I've seen sometimes when they marry whoever they marry, the color still may be prominent, one or the other. The kid still may be very dark or white looking. It just doesn't. There was an article with this lady. She had a biracial kid, and she was whining about her kid looks white. Well, my thing is that's kind of what you signed up for, isn't it? I mean, she wanted the kid to have some brown, and I guess I wasn't being too nice. Okay, let's go to the next one. Inevitably, the issue of desirability is raised whenever the subject of singleness is on the table. And then it said, let me state this for the record: desirability is a scam. Beauty or lack thereof does not determine if an individual will or will not be married. We all know this intuitively, but due to our socialization, we continue to deceive ourselves into thinking that if we enhance, if we lighten, if we tighten, if we lift, if we plump, then we'll be desirable. And that leads to another issue that the guest on He Said, She Said emphasized. This is one that, this is one that got me, because, this is me all day long. He said, Black men do not, well, I've heard this before too. Black men do not like weaves, wigs, fake nails, eyelashes, etc., and warned women not to get confused by the attention they get because of it. Thought that was interesting.
I think that is interesting. And I think it's to each their own. I think
Yeah.
sometimes the hair is too much.
Sometimes
Sometimes
the eyelashes are
the eyelashes are longer than the hair. I think it's what's desirable and what's considered beautiful to other people. I know people that I've always had braids. All of my life I've had braids, and I have a lot of hair, but I have braids because they're easy and they're convenient, and I love braids. I think they look very ethnic. Some men think it's ghetto.
Well, I'm just the opposite. I had a lot of hair growing up, but then after years and years of perming and dyeing and stuff, it thinned out so bad I can't wear my hair anymore on the top. So
Mhm.
I like to I use my wigs and hair pieces and all as an accessory. I love it.
Yeah,
And if somebody
yeah.
don't like it, okay, it's fine. So I think, to your point, to each his own.
Mhm.
Some of it is a
I
bit
know men
much.
that like women that have lots of different wig colors. It's different names. When I had wigs, when I used to wear wigs, I used to name them, and I have their persona, like Sasha and Natalie, and it adds spice. So I think it really does. Whoever, if you're comfortable in your own skin, then it doesn't really matter. You know.
Right. And I think that it's really good, particularly something like when you're doing something to enhance, when it's something that you don't have. Men when they start losing hair, they can go bald. They can, and then they start looking, oh, they're sexy and they're bald.
Hmm.
Women normally, hair is our crown.
Hmm.
So to your point, I love changing it up. I'll change it up every day. I'll change it up anytime I want to. Because that's what I like doing. So because, like this person says, Cynthia said right here, I love being beautiful and believe in self-care. So that's how I do it. But I thought it was interesting that he said that Black men don't like any of that stuff. And I've heard it before. Matter of fact, I've heard it when we've had discussions on like interracial dating and interracial marriage, how they were saying because of another hue, they don't have to worry about the wigs. Well, they wear pieces and wigs too. But anyway, they don't have to worry about the wigs. They don't have
Yes,
to worry
they
about
do.
this. They don't have to worry about that.
Yes, they do.
So, and you've heard it too, right? So, that's a
Mhm.
truism. Some of them don't like it. And for those who don't like it, what they need to find them a natural girl. Right? Find
That's
what you
right.
like, right?
That's
Find,
right. That's right.
find what you like.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
let's see what else we have here. The far-reaching tentacles of oppression via the transatlantic slave trade, chattel slavery, and mass incarceration have depleted the Black male marriage market. Meanwhile, what's left of the market is further complicated by colorism, beauty hierarchies, leaving heterosexual, Black women who desire to be married to a Black man single for far longer than they intend to. They are single much longer than they intend. I mean, most people want to get married by the time they're 40, I think. It is one thing for a Black woman to choose singleness,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
their prerogative. Not everyone desires marriage. It's another thing entirely to desire marriage
It's true.
and to have your agency with regard to your marital status stripped away from you due to mechanisms of oppression that have been in motion for hundreds of years. Part of what it means to be fully human is to exercise our God-given agency. When this is stripped from us, injustice is afoot and righteous discontent is a reasonable response. So are we discontent? Yes. Is it fair? No. Do the numbers add up? No. We only talked about a few things, but there's a whole group of men that just don't want women, so then they have to go to seek their own
Yeah.
partners. It depletes our pool too. Some women, and I'm not advocating this, of course not, but some women are saying, well, you know what? The pool is so slim, maybe we should look at other men. Not to keep it within the Black race, but to look beyond that and to find another particular potential partner of another race. If that's a choice that they make, that's a choice that they make. I do believe that, with all the variation and all the differences, there is somebody for everyone. I don't know if you'll find them. I don't know where to find them, but I think there
I
is
agree.
someone for everyone. Some people like short people, some people like tall people, some people like them thick, but when they talked about, I thought it was interesting when he talked about obesity and being overweight because on the Miss Wanda show, it was almost as if, well, all a woman has to do is stop eating. Now we know obesity and overweight. What's the difference between that? I know. What's the difference between obesity and overweight?
So, the average person has a body mass index or a BMI of, I don't know, between, I'd say, 20 and 25. When you are between 25 and 29, you're considered overweight. Okay. When you're 29 and up, you're considered obese. When you're over like 35% body fat, you're considered morbidly obese. And it goes on and on and on and on. So that's those are just facts. And unfortunately, I see 11-year-old kids that are 200 pounds.
I do too. High school kids that are big. Yeah.
And I thought I was fed at 110 pounds.
No, Makiba. When you were a cheerleader, you were 105 pounds, and you would come home whining about my thighs touch. And I'm looking at you like, girl, I never weighed 105. I'd be like in 130s, maybe 140, but I never weighed 105. And you would be like, my thighs are touching. But that's a great point.
Like complex. Because we're taught that when you're thin, you're right. Everything's right when you're thin. And I feel as a African American woman that sometimes when you're thin, you attract dogs like bones. That's just my personal opinion. I agree with Cynthia when she says that you have to have self-love. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I remember dating a guy. I was head over heels in love with him. Please do not say his name.
I won't. I had to bite my tongue.
But thank you. But I was 140 pounds and he had me on a diet and he dumped me for a person that was well over 250 pounds and married her and had kids by her.
Then it had nothing to do with your weight, obviously. Or maybe it had to do with you, or maybe it was a bit of colorism, but we're not gonna go into that. But I also
you know exactly what I was gonna say. I mean, it is what it is. She wasn't black.
But what I also, oh my gosh, we're not gonna go on. And that's another group of men that deplete our pool. Men who marry women of different ethnicities. Yeah. I mean, that's so you have men who don't want women, who may prefer men who prefer women of other ethnicities. I mean, all these are incarcerate. All these are depleting our pool. So our pool is getting smaller and smaller. But to go back to the obesity
men who
thing,
desire women that are fit. So like,
yes.
Yeah, that's right. What I was going to say, like men that desire women that are fit, so I could have everything. I could make over $100,000 a year, have my own place.
I don't care how much you make.
Just giving, loving person, wonderful personality, beautiful face, but I don't weigh 110 pounds. And your brother said that if she doesn't weigh 120 pounds, I don't want to deal with her.
Oh, you know what? He sure did. I know when I started gaining weight when I was in my 40s,
my brother too, but
he talked about me so bad. He said, I'm gonna tell you, me personally, I don't know why you're getting so big. And that's another point, getting so big.
That's what he said to me.
Some of that you can't control. Obesity is a chronic disease. And a lot of it, mine came after having multiple surgeries from whatever. But obesity isn't something that you can just turn off and turn on. It's a chronic disease. Why do you think the GLPs and Wegovy and Ozempic and all that is just flying off the counters? Because 40% of Americans are obese. I don't know what the percentage
now, remember,
of black
we said obese was remember we said obese is over 29% body fat.
Yeah, 30 BMI. Right, a 30 BMI.
I have a friend that is 5'4" and she weighs 295 pounds. What is she?
Morbidly obese.
Very smart, very pretty, makes a lot of money.
Don't matter.
But she doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's something that we have to, but when they say, I guess I beg to differ when they say we need to, I don't want to call it lower our standards, or we need to kind of recalibrate. We do need to look at who we love, but I think, keeping that focus, I think it is unrealistic for someone to always think that everyone's going to get a guy who's 6 feet tall making $100,000. I never had that ideal, so I can't even relate to that because I never really
Me
liked tall
either.
guys. So, but so I don't know. This is an issue, the unfairness of it all, how the math doesn't math, how so many men are depleting from our black men pool, which is what I think is sometimes forcing women to go to men of other hues, be it the dark men, the Indian men, the whatever men, and some of them are even going over to Caucasian men. So, but no one wants to live this life and walk this journey alone. Everybody wants to, well, generally, some people don't want to get married, but everybody wants to typically walk this journey with someone with them. That's what life's all about, sharing your love and, walking
That's
the
true.
journey with someone. So it has been, I appreciate all those that came back on the show. We had a little oopsie when the show started for the first 15 minutes. I didn't know I was having audio issues, but thanks to Earl and some other people that gave me feedback, I kind of figured it out. I wasn't about to give up. And it's already almost 7 o'clock. Next week is Super Bowl week. We will not be on Super Bowl week.
Woo!
Super Bowling. Just a shame the Detroit Lions aren't in there. That's what I was really shooting for. But we will be back the week after Super Bowl. Makiba, if you have any final words, please, you can say anything you want to right now.
Well, I just really want to emphasize and say to people, I think that my mama used to say this, God knows I miss her, but I feel like you really have to be equally yoked. And you need to not have unrealistic expectations. If you can bring something to the table, then you should expect something from the table. I don't think that you should make $20,000 a year and want somebody that makes $100,000 a year. That's unrealistic. You also, self-love is love, and I totally agree with what Cynthia said. You do what makes you feel beautiful, and there is somebody out there for you. That's how I feel.
But,
You have to deal with what?
Oh,
What?
sorry. I think there's a small delay. But I do have to add, when you said about the woman making 20, the man making 100, sometimes that happens. Men used to generally make more than women because men are the providers. But I
And they
kind of
do,
agree
and I'm
with you.
okay with that.
Yeah, but both of you do have to bring something. I expect both of you to bring something to the table. But what's more important to me than a guy who makes 100 or 200,000 a year is someone who treats me kind, who treats me good, who's
Absolutely.
generous. Because just because he's making $250,000 a year don't mean he's generous. Matter of fact,
Doesn't mean you're going to reap those benefits. I agree.
They can be A-holes and they act like you should be happy to be with them. Okay, so hey.
Yes.
But there's somebody for everybody.
I totally agree. The other thing I wanted to say, Janice, is you have to, if you're ready to commit, you have to be with somebody that wants to commit, because that means the world. I mean, like, I'm sorry, it's a hard pill to swallow. If you're ready to be married and you're in a relationship with somebody, let's say you've been dating them for 10 years, he hasn't married you, honey. He's probably not going to.
So you would suggest in your knowledge of knowledge that if you've been dating him for 10 years, 15 years, and you've been ready and he's not ready, you could be spinning around here for the next 20 or 30 years. So you might as well cut it loose now. Because you're kind of breaking off, or you're kind of, cutting off someone who you may meet that may be that perfect match because you're with this other person who don't
really you're blocking your blessings.
That's true. I don't know how we got on
your blessings. There is somebody out there. There is somebody out there that wants what you want.
True. That's true. It's all about, and there's such a problem now because back when I was younger, we had a lot of places to go where we would see different people. We had different clubs and we had this and we had that. I don't know where the young people go. I don't know where they get together. I don't know where they meet each other. It's kind of tough. It's a lot tougher.
Don't tell me. A lot of times people go on Tinder and that stupid Plenty of Fish. I mean, like, they're online dating, and that's really, really popular now, but it's not. Ugh,
But
yeah, I don't
everyone's
know.
kind
It's
of
hard
going.
to meet people.
Everyone's going to that. Everyone's going to that though.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So anyway, we are going to wow, the world. We have to, and I want you to start really, really praying for the world and praying for peace, because points of war is breaking out everywhere. On that note, I want everyone to have a blessed week. Do the best you can. Do something kind for someone, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Makiba, thank you for coming in at our notice, and thank you for being patient and
Absolutely. Thanks
signing
for
on with
having
me.
me.
You're welcome. Bye bye. Talk to you soon. Goodbye, audience. See you in 2 weeks. Come back then. Bye bye.